Hello, guess what time it is? Weekly roundup. Rose, where did you come from? Okay, this is, this is how we gotta do it. Say hi. Hi. Hi, people. I'm in the way. Say I'm in the way. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. Where'd she even come from? So it's weekly roundup time. I've got 5 slots, but I used 6 palettes. But I used 2 of them together. You follow me. Okay, so I'm going to tell you from least to most favorite of the week. And yeah, then we'll just see what I use for next week and how we'll rank those. So number 5 is my take on the Natasha Denona Retro Glam. Ugh. So I have my little palette in this big Sydney Grace magnetic palette. These are all shades from Sydney Grace mainly, but I've also got some Cleona shades in here, and this one here is from Pretties for Your Face. Now, I actually really like the palette that I came up with. The color story, though, is just like not my jam, but there are some very pretty colors in here that I think work a lot better for deeper skin tones than maybe the Natasha Denona one would. So yeah, I do like the shades. I don't know that I like the color story of the Retro Glam, and that was the color story that I was basically duping, just with shades that are more appropriate for a deeper skin tone, because I don't know about that. I don't know about that palette she done made. So that is number 5. Number 4 is ironically Natasha Denona. This is the Glam face palette. Now, I do get use out of this palette, and I think it is a great palette for if you just want everything in one place, and also to be able to have like a simple kind of classic look. This is the deeper version, or the dark version. There's a dark and a light, which I really appreciate. For me, I'm not a huge highlighter person, so I appreciate this here, but I don't get a ton of use out of it. It would be great if that could be popped out and I could put like a bronzer there. I do like the blush, and I like all of the shades. It's a very simple, easy palette to use. The reason I picked it, it was a day where I just needed something quick and easy. I only had a few minutes in between appointments, and I just needed something quick and easy, and I could only think of the Glam palette because it does have the blush in there, and it's just easy to kind of put a look together. I want to say this is a pretty solid palette, especially for those of you who like to just have everything sort of in one place. It was just a day that day, and I needed something quick, easy, and no muss, no fuss. So that is the Glam face palette, the dark version, at number 4. Now, number 3, yes, is the Viseart Paris Nudes palette. Now, I saw that Viseart released a petite version of the Paris Nudes and Sultry Muse palettes, and those are 2 of my favorite Viseart palettes. I really liked this. I used a few of the shades here. I think I used this one and this one. Now, these are all shimmer palettes, but I actually will often use the deeper shimmers to darken out the outer corner, so not even using any matte shades. If I do want to use some mattes, I can always pull from another palette. And the nice thing about the petite versions, as well as like the newer, Rose is currently on punishment. The nice thing about the petite versions of the Viseart palettes, as well as the newer, like kind of like upgraded palettes that are bigger, is that the pans are removable. So you can always switch things around if you want to put them into different palettes or just make different iterations of the same color story. So I really appreciate that. And you can see that this is different from like their older packaging, which is like this, the more square, and these are much harder to depot than these that you can simply take out with a magnet. So that is number 3, and this is actually one of my favorite Viseart palettes. Now, number 2, this is where I used 2 palettes, and it is actually the eye look that I have on today. And the 2 palettes are the Terra Moon's Cosmic Wanderer palette and the MUERTE palette from Melt Cosmetics. I really just wanted like a blue look today, so I used a couple of shades from here, which is the Cosmic Wanderer palette. Very nice, very deep colors, very pigmented. Again, this is also a palette where the pans are magnetic, so you can always take those out to create your own palette, which you know we love to do here. And for the outer V, I actually took this very deep blue shade in the Muerte palette. This is called Noche Eterna. We took that and put that on the outer corner, and it's just this very deep, like almost like cobalt in your face blue. So these 2 come in at number 2. I found that they paired really well together, and like this is just like, look at how this is pigmented when I tell you. Wow. Now I have a bluish hand. That's okay, that's okay. We'll wash our hands. Now at number 1, that is the other Viseart palette that I used this week, and this is the Sultry Muse. I really enjoy this palette. It has the same sort of layout as the Paris Nudes. Look at it has the same sort of layout. I use these 2 shades. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. And just created a really simple goldish kind of smoky eye, but using all shimmer. I really just love this color story. It's just pretty. I find Sultry Muse and Paris Nudes to be 2 of the prettiest Viseart palettes for me and what I like, and that makes me happy, and that is why the Sultry Muse is at number 1. So quick recap, we had the dupe of the Natasha Denona Retro Glam palette at number 5. Then we had the Natasha Denona Glam face palette in the dark version at number 4. Number 3 is the Paris Nudes palette from Viseart. Number 2, we have 2 palettes, the Cosmic Wanderer palette from Terra Moons, as well as the Muerte palette from Melt Cosmetics. And then number 1 is the Viseart Sultry Muse palette, which again is one of my favorites. So let me know the palettes you used this week. Did you have a color theme? I was trying to get myself out of the purples and pinks because I feel like I did a lot of that last week. I really like this vibrant blue that I have going on, and I got quite a few compliments on many of the eye looks I did this week, and I only used like 1 or 2 shades, which is kind of cool. So let me know how your palettes went this week. Let me know if you have any suggestions of what I should use next week in terms of brand or color story or something. And yeah, we'll see how it goes and what I decide to use. I hope that this was helpful in some way. I also hope that you are continuing to take care of yourself. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.